Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 5:30 News on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Jay Cohn.
And I'm Jeanelle Slade. Tonight we focus on what's often considered a silent problem, children with no place to call home.
The numbers may shock you, but they are real, just like the kids who live day to day not knowing where they'll spend the night or eat their next meal.
Homelessness, we see it in our communities every day.
But what many don't see is the hundreds of students in Billings School District 2 without a permanent place to call home. Now, school officials define homelessness as anyone who lacks what they call fixed and adequate nighttime residence. So this could mean that these kids might be living with their families in a shelter or a motel.
Or the kids could be living in their cars. We are told a lot of them couch surf, just staying at friends' houses for a few days before moving on.
Last year alone, School District 2 identified more than 600 students as homeless. Now keep in mind that number is cumulative, so the count starts over at the beginning of every school year.
For this school year, the number already at more than 200 students.
When a kid comes and really needs a lot of help and then we never see him again, I don't know if hopeless is the right word, but it gets worrisome. Like, I wonder what happened to that kid. Did we do everything we could in that 1 5-minute piece of time to make sure that they have everything they need to survive? Which sounds very dramatic, but a lot of it really is life and death stuff.
Tonight at 10, Samantha Harrelson takes a deeper look at this issue and what these kids face.
And Sammy, you specifically had a chance to talk with a student who completely lives on her own right now.
Well, yeah, that's exactly right. I sat down with Bethany Taylor. She's a senior at senior high school, and she's what they call an unaccompanied youth, which means she lives without a parent or a guardian of any kind. The school district actually identifies over 50 kids in the school district to date that live that way. She's got a pretty amazing story, though, so we're looking forward to sharing that story with you all tonight.
All right, we're looking forward to watching it with you. Thank you very much, Sammy.
In other news tonight, as lawmakers kick off a special session to deal with the state's $227 million budget hole, many Republicans say they do not like Governor Steve Bullock's tax hike proposals. As MTN's Mike Dennison reports, Republicans have come up with a proposed tax expansion of their own.
Right now, the biggest health insurer in the state, Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Montana, pays a 2.75% premium tax on most of its business. But two other smaller nonprofit competitors do not, Pacific Source and the Montana Health Co-op. Majority Republicans are proposing to extend the tax to the two nonprofit insurers.
From our standpoint, this is an equalization move. Why does one insurer have to pay the tax and the other two don't?
The proposal would generate about $12 million over the next 2 years to help fill the state's budget hole. Then, starting in 2020, the overall tax would be lowered to 2% for all health insurers. Blue Cross is backing the plan, saying it helps the state and levels a playing field for insurers.
We're here because the state is short revenue to the tune of $227 million. So I think the state is ready to find a way to fill the fire fund, create some tax equity, and from a long-term standpoint, create a tax decrease for the majority of Montanans.
But as you can imagine, the smaller insurers don't quite see it that way. A lobbyist for Pacific Source says Blue Cross agreed to pay the premium tax in 2013 as a condition of its purchase by a multi-state, multi-billion-dollar corporation in Chicago. Though Blue Cross says its Chicago parent operates as a nonprofit, she disagrees.
There's no way Blue Cross Blue Shield under HCSC is a nonprofit. I think right now they're counting on people's memories to slip and in the speed of the special session to make this decision and calling it an equity. I see it as them lowering their taxes and us having a tax increase passed on to our members.
Blue Cross has about 300,000 customers in Montana. Between the two of them, the Co-op and Pacific Source have about 70,000 customers. Blue Cross's Doran insists that his company is not trying to put the muscle on its competitors and that Montana as a whole will benefit from the tax change.
There's no reason to assume that just because we have tax equity that anyone's going to leave the market.
The premium tax change is the only tax increase being proposed solely by Republicans here at the special session. In the coming days, we'll find out which tax increases will be approved and which will not. At the Capitol, Mike Dennison, MTN News.
Thanks, Mike. Now, the special session convenes tomorrow in Helena and is expected to last several days.
As part of his plan to balance the state budget, Governor Bullock wants to use $30 million from a state workers' compensation fund, that is, but that proposal today ran into opposition during its first pre-session hearing. State Senator Ed Buttry of Great Falls presented the plan to a joint meeting of the House and Senate business committees at the Capitol. He said the state work comp fund has as much as $1.6 billion in reserves and equity, and that his proposal would use only a small segment of the investment earnings off of that money. That would help fill the state's budget hole. Plus, Buttry said work comp insurance rates for businesses will not be affected. But business groups turned out to oppose the fund transfer. They're calling it a tax and argued that money should stay in the work comp fund to benefit the businesses who paid into it.
We are the little guys that are insured by the Montana State Fund. The trickle-down effect will be to the small guys, to the small businesses that are the backbone of Montana, to my folks.
So here's the bottom line. This is not a new tax on Montana businesses. This is a short-term solution to help us resolve our current budget crisis. Montana businesses have funded the surplus at the state fund. Montana businesses will be part of the solution that we generate in this special session.
So again, the special session convenes tomorrow. The first committee vote on that work comp bill is expected tomorrow as well.
Well, just as the grant committee sits down to divvy up hundreds of thousands of dollars in wildfire relief funds, another big donation comes in today. The Foley Family Charitable Foundation in Whitefish gives $20,000 to the Montana Wildfire Relief Fund. About 60 organizations have applied so far. They've requested some $750,000 in assistance. Organizers expect to award about $300,000 in the first round of grants. The committee will give preference to rural fire departments and other first responders that fought summer fires. Now, the fund has raised more than $525,000. The grant committee, including fire professionals and people from affected communities, will score each application. They say the awards could be decided as soon as next month. This past weekend, applications opened for the second cycle of grants.
A group of airmen from Malmstrom Air Base in Great Falls decided they just couldn't sit by and watch as Hurricane Harvey hit Texas. MTN's Margaret DeMarco tonight has more for us on how their help is making a bigger impact than they expected.
In August, Hurricane Harvey hit the Houston area with record rainfall in just 2 days.
Heidi actually wanted to go down there in her truck by herself over a long weekend.
Heidi Augustin Dominguez and David Gainey want to use the skills that they've learned from the 819th Red Horse to help those affected in Texas. So they started planning.
Heidi and I chose the team specifically based off of all of our logistics experience. There was Greg Callahan, Billy Swy, and Paul Brooks. They all joined us.
After a quick 3-day drive, the group arrived and found out they'd be working in a warehouse. And soon they streamlined the distribution process.
Brad Kaiserman, who is the vice president of Red Cross Disaster Services, he made a surprise visit down to the warehouse and the whole Houston area. And after we walked him through the process, some of the things that we were doing, he told us that it was he wanted that to be the new model for the Red Cross.
While the group was in Houston, they helped deliver 1.6 million pounds of supplies to a 90-mile radius.
You could see how appreciative everyone was, how devastated their whole communities were, and to be able to give them water or rakes or gloves, hand sanitizer, bleach, whatever they needed, it was so rewarding.
Gainey says the training and experience the group received from the Air Force helped them during their month in Texas.
We really wanted to help Americans that were in need.
In Great Falls, Margaret DeMarco, MTN News.
And Margaret tells us that Gainey is busy documenting exactly what the Malmstrom Group did at that warehouse so the Red Cross can model other supply centers off of what they accomplished down in Houston.
British rock singer and songwriter Rod Stewart will make his first trip to Montana when he performs here in Billings next April.
That's right. Metro Park announces a Billings stop for Rod Stewart's live in-concert tour. He'll be here Saturday, April 14th to perform at the Rimrock Auto Arena. Rod Stewart, of course, one of the best-selling artists in history with an estimated 200 million records sold worldwide.
Now, tickets go on sale Friday and range in price from $40 to $130. They can be purchased at the Metro Park box office or online.
Still to come on tonight's 5:30 News, we've dusted off some more of our archives, and this time, well, we found something of presidential proportions.
And later in sports, Scott opens 5 straight nights of coverage on your Cats and Grizz as they enter Saturday's showdown.
And coming up in the weather, it is hard to believe, but hey, we actually got up into the 50s today. 54 degrees was our high temperature. Now you'll notice tomorrow we're going to probably cool back down into the 40s, but at least it's not going to be as far as our record low, which was 20 below zero on this date. We'll have more in your forecast coming up in a few more minutes.
You're watching MTN News with Jay Cohn and Jeanelle Slade. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire and sports with Scott Green. This is the 5:30 News on Q2, Montana's news leader. Powered by the Montana Television Network. The 5:30 News continues on Q2, Montana's news leader.
We're dusting off our film and video archives in a new feature series that we've dubbed Q2 Rewind. And tonight we turn the clock back 54 years when